It's been about 4 months since Apple revealed the iPhone 13 lineup at their September event, and ever since I got my hands on the 13 Pro Max, I've been using it every single day, and I've got to say that I've never been as satisfied with an iPhone as I am right now with this one. So in this 4-month review, I'm going to do something completely different with the goal of helping you decide if it's still worth upgrading to one of the iPhone 13 Pro models or simply holding off for the iPhone 14 Pro, which has the chance of coming with features like a pill-shaped cutout instead of the notch and maybe even a USB-C port like I talked about in a previous video, which you should definitely check out. But with all that said, the way I'm going to do this review is by making a list of every single update or upgrade that came with the 13 Pro Max, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on which features actually matter to me after 4 months of use, with the best features being saved for last. So let's get right into it. First up, we have the changes that matter to me the least, like Apple selling a 1TB iPhone model, which I definitely don't need, and things like the dual eSIM feature, which don't matter to me since I don't need more than one cellular line. There's also the new Sierra blue color, which I really dislike, so I ended up going with graphite, and I covered it up with a leather skin from Nomad, which has been incredibly impressive and resilient. And no, they're not sponsoring this video. But getting back into the real new features, we have one that really didn't matter to me at all, and that's Photographic Styles, which allows you to apply a pre-filter to all of your photos, but I honestly haven't touched this once since my original review because I personally like the default color profile coming from the 13 Pro, so I don't really need this feature. After that, we have the new ProRes recording format, and to me, this is still a gimmick because I don't really shoot videos with my iPhone with the intention of them going into a professional video or anything like that. And since the file size is absolutely massive, I decided that it's not even worth it for me to enable that format for the everyday stuff that I record, like videos of my kid. Now, another upgrade we got this year that Apple didn't really talk about was the fact that the iPhone 13 Pro Max can now accept up to 27 watts of charging power. So because of that, I went ahead and ordered an Anker 30-watt charger just so I don't feel like I'm missing out on potentially faster charging speed. But to be honest, because of the incredible battery life of this phone, which I'm gonna get to in just a couple of minutes, I haven't really been using that adapter that much. However, when I need to top up the battery quickly, I'm constantly blown away by how fast it charges up compared to how long it used to take a couple of years ago, so this new faster charging can definitely be useful. And now talking a little bit about the cameras, the selfie camera this year got a small upgrade with some of the features the rear camera gets, like ProRes recording, but the one that I've actually noticed is the jump up to Smart HDR4, which gives it a very noticeable improvement in terms of high dynamic range performance. So now you're much less likely to have blown out clouds in the background, which is a small but helpful improvement, and I also noticed that sun flaring isn't nearly as bad of a problem as it was last year, so that's very nice. Now, one new feature that I thought was going to be a massive game changer is the new cinematic video recording mode. So I tested it out a few times and I got some really cool looking shots like this one of my wife and son walking around downtown. And I also noticed that the stabilization is absolutely incredible, making it look like you're holding a gimbal. But unfortunately, it still has issues with making it look natural since the blur edging messes up sometimes, and that totally ruins the feel. So in my opinion, this is going to be one of those features that Apple has to fine-tune over the next few years, but it's just not ready right now. And because it's limited to just 1080p quality, I just can't get myself to use it because I know that this phone is capable of shooting in 4K. So I feel like I'm missing out in terms of quality when I use cinematic video mode. Next up, we have the new macro mode, which was very impressive and exciting when Apple revealed it, but I just haven't been using it that much. Now, initially, it was really messed up and buggy because it worked automatically and you couldn't couldn't control the lens that it was switching to, but Apple quickly fixed that issue and has added a button for macro mode, and it works like a charm. And what I really like about it is that you can get some really cool shots like this one of a toy car with a unique wide-angle perspective. But still, it's sometimes hard to get the focus right if you're too close, but it can really help you see details like the stamp on the inside of this ring. And for scenarios like that, this feature is awesome and priceless. Now moving on to the next feature, the 13 Pro now lets you manually adjust the brightness up to 1000 nits instead of last year's 800, which has been very convenient for me in situations where I want the display as bright as possible since I don't like using auto brightness. And in terms of the chipset, this year's iPhones also come with the new A15 Bionic chip, with the Pro models getting the faster 5-core GPU. And while I haven't really noticed a difference in snappiness directly from the performance improvement alone, I've been testing out some games and I've been really impressed by the performance. Like for example, getting a solid 120 FPS in games like League of Legends Wild Rift with no hiccups at all. And for other games that are limited to 60 Hz, I discovered that you can enable low power mode and still get perfect 60 FPS while saving an impressive amount of battery life compared to not having it on, making it the perfect mode for gaming, and it's only possible because of the high amount of raw horsepower and efficiency with the A15 chip. And with that said, let's finally get into the main camera, which was upgraded with a better sensor and an f1.5 aperture lens to let in quite a bit more light. The level of noise visible in photos is very, very low, especially in dimmer situations, and it's just so much better than it was before. And in terms of daylight shots, I've never been so happy with photos coming off of an iPhone with them all being super sharp. And in terms of portrait mode using the main lens, everything looks absolutely amazing, especially with the really nice gradual blur depth range as something gets further away from the subject. And I've noticed that the camera can capture so much color data like the natural sunset hour glow with incredibly realistic bokeh. And even at night, the night mode portraits have been refined compared to last year, and they turn out amazing. And by far, the biggest difference at night is that the 13 Pro Max can perfectly reproduce the natural glow and color from neon lights, which no other phone can get right. So yeah, the camera performance, including the hardware and the software, has never been better, and I wouldn't choose any other phone's camera over this one. But an even bigger deal that really matters to me is that this year, the ultra-wide camera has been upgraded with an f1.8 aperture lens compared to f2.4 last year, so it lets in a ton more light. And this led to a massive difference in quality, making it actually usable now for lower light situations, and much more detail for video recording as well. So because of all of this, I'm using the ultra-wide lens much more often now compared to last year with the 12 Pro Max, so I'm very happy about this ultra-wide lens. And even better, the new upgraded 3x optical zoom lens is so much better than last year's 2.5x lens on the 12 Pro Max, which suffered from lots of issues with noise, so for the same reasons, I hardly ever used the telephoto lens last year. But now, it looks very good and deals with low light much better. And on top of that, the new 77mm focal length is perfect for portrait photos, making them look closer to professional portraits than ever before. And I've got to say that portrait mode with this lens looks amazing, with Apple finally tuning it perfectly while giving the background a very natural blur, including bokeh that looks better than I've ever seen before. So overall, I've never been more happy with the camera performance, and when it comes to 4K video recording across any of the lenses, it's literally the best in the business. Now moving on, we have the speaker quality upgrade, with the speakers having noticeably more volume compared to last year, which is very important to me since I like to turn on YouTube videos while in the shower and other situations, and I no longer have any issues with hearing what was said. But on the other hand, the quality has also received a huge improvement as well, with sharper highs and better dynamic range between all of the frequencies, and this is really important to me since there are so many use cases where I simply use the built-in speakers instead instead of reaching for my AirPods. And now finishing off with the last 3 major features that matter the most to me after 4 months, we have the much improved heat management. With the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the display would dim in various situations, like just being on the MagSafe wireless charger, just being out in the sun while using apps, just turning the brightness all the way up to the max, and especially while gaming. But this year, I've only witnessed the display dim a couple of times during the past 4 months, compared to literally a daily basis with the 12 Pro Max, which was extremely annoying. And even if the display does dim, it usually only went down to around 80% of the maximum brightness, compared to as low as 40% with the 12, which was insanely dark. So I'm very happy that Apple was able to fix this issue with the 13 Pro Max. And now for the second most important feature, we have the battery life, which has been absolutely incredible and even mind-blowing at times. For the first time ever, I no longer have to even think about my battery life because it's just so good, and it can literally last a day and a half with regular use, which never used to happen before with any other iPhone. And this matters to me so much because it gives me a sense of freedom, knowing that I can play games at any time I want without worrying about the battery life at all. In fact, I completely stopped charging my 13 Pro Max at night, which used to be something I had to do no matter what with previous iPhones to make sure that it would last through the next day. Nowadays, it mostly just stays topped up by using my car's MagSafe vent mount charger while driving and using my convenient MagSafe stand at work, with me only really having to resort to wired cable charging on the weekends. And this level of battery life is surprising coming from the 12 Pro Max, since that had decent battery life. So I couldn't imagine how it would feel coming from an older or smaller iPhone to this one. And now finally, we have the #1 new feature that matters to me the most, and that is, unsurprisingly, the 120Hz ProMotion refresh rate feature, which is exclusive to the Pro models. For many years, the chips have gotten more and more powerful, but you'd never notice that big of a difference in terms of snappiness because the refresh rate of the iPhone has always stuck to 60 Hz. But now, this 13 Pro Max feels more snappy than any iPhone I've ever had, solely because of 120Hz ProMotion, especially for scrolling through content like Twitter. And the reason I know it matters to me so much is because when someone asks me for some help with their settings or some kind of feature on their older 60 Hz iPhone, the display looks so stuttery and choppy that for a slight moment, I think that it might be broken or it might have some kind of display issue before I remember that it's actually a 60 Hz display compared to 120 on the 13 Pro Max. And of course, this has also been very nice for things like gaming at perfect 120 FPS and games like League of Legends, making everything incredibly smooth. But my favorite thing of all is Apple's implementation of 120Hz using ProMotion, which automatically tunes the refresh rate down on the fly to save battery life. And while it's not perfect all the time, it's definitely worth it, and it's my absolute favorite feature of the 13 Pro Max. So there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed my 4-month review, and if you did, go ahead and comment your thoughts down below, and definitely click the circle button to subscribe for more videos like this one, and check out one of those 2 right over there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.